Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a crowded room, the air buzzing with conversations, laughter, and the clink of glasses. Everyone seems connected, influential, radiating that effortless charm that draws people in like moths to a flame. But you're on the outside, wondering how on earth you can break through, win hearts, and sway minds without coming across as pushy or insincere. What if I told you there's a timeless blueprint for exactly that? A set of secrets that have transformed ordinary folks into masters of human connection. Secrets that don't rely on manipulation or tricks, but on unlocking the deepest desires in every person's soul. Buckle up, because we're diving into a journey that will reshape how you see every interaction in your life, filled with vivid stories, real-life examples, and profound insights that will keep you hooked from start to finish. Picture yourself in a heated argument with a colleague at work. Tensions are rising, words are flying like daggers, and before you know it, you've criticized their idea harshly, pointing out every flaw in excruciating detail. They dig in their heels, defend themselves fiercely, and the whole thing ends in resentment that lingers for weeks, poisoning the office atmosphere. Sound familiar? It's a trap we've all fallen into at some point, whether at work, home, or with friends. But what if instead of criticizing, you chose a different path entirely? What if you realized that criticism is like a boomerang? It always comes back to hurt you more than anyone else. Think about notorious figures in history, like the outlaws who believed they were justified in their actions, no matter how wrong they seemed to the world. Even Al Capone, the infamous gangster, saw himself as a public benefactor, providing jobs and entertainment during tough times. If hardened criminals like him don't respond to blame or condemnation, how can we expect our friends, family, or coworkers to react any differently? The key is simple yet profoundly transformative. Avoid criticism, condemnation, or complaints at all costs. It's not about biting your tongue in frustration. It's about understanding that people are creatures of emotion, wrapped in layers of pride, vanity, and self-preservation. When you point out faults directly, you trigger an automatic defensiveness, building impenetrable walls instead of open bridges that lead to understanding and cooperation. But let's flip the script and explore the alternative in more depth. What if, in that same tense meeting, you focused on what they did right, no matter how small it might seem? Imagine praising their creativity first, highlighting how their unique approach sparked a new idea in you or solved a part of the problem that no one else had considered. Suddenly, their face lights up, their guard drops completely, and they're not just open to your suggestions. They're eager to collaborate. This isn't empty flattery or superficial buttering up. It's genuine appreciation, the kind that fuels human motivation like nothing else on earth. Remember Charles Schwab, the legendary steel magnate who earned a staggering $1 million a year back in the early 20th century? Not for his technical knowledge of steel production, but for his unparalleled knack at handling people and inspiring them to greatness? He once said his greatest asset was arousing enthusiasm through heartfelt praise and encouragement. He didn't just toss out a generic good job. He made it specific, sincere, and personal, pointing out exactly why someone's effort mattered, how it contributed to the bigger picture, and what made it stand out. Why does this work so powerfully? Because deep down, at our core, we all crave recognition and validation. It's like watering a parched plant in the desert. Under the warmth of appreciation, it doesn't just survive. It blooms vibrantly, reaching new heights. So next time you're tempted to complain about a delayed project at work, a messy kitchen at home, or a friend's tardiness, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what can I genuinely appreciate here? What small win can I highlight? You'll be amazed at how it shifts the entire dynamic, turning potential conflicts into opportunities for collaboration and mutual growth. Now, let's build on that foundation and delve even deeper. You've avoided the criticism pitfall and sprinkled in some well-timed praise, but how do you get someone to actually do what you want without forcing it? Not by demanding, ordering, or manipulating, but by igniting their own inner desire, making them want it as much as you do. Arouse in them an eager want, as if the idea is blooming naturally from their own mind, not imposed from outside. Think of it like fishing in a serene lake. You don't bait the hook with what you personally like, such as strawberries or chocolate. You use what the fish craves: worms, minnows, or shiny lures that appeal to their instincts. Henry Ford, the automotive pioneer, nailed it when he said that the secret to success lies in putting yourself in the other person's place and seeing things from their angle, not just your own. Imagine you're trying to convince your spouse to take a much-needed vacation after a grueling year. Instead of listing all the reasons why you desperately need a break, your stress, your exhaustion, paint a vivid, enticing picture of them relaxing on a pristine sunny beach, the warm sand between their toes, the sound of waves crashing gently, recharging their batteries so they can come back stronger, creating cherished family memories that will last a lifetime and bring joy in retelling for years. Suddenly, it's not your selfish want anymore. It's theirs, aligned perfectly with their deepest aspirations for peace, adventure, and connection. This isn't sly manipulation. It's pure empathy in action, understanding that people will move mountains, overcome obstacles, and push boundaries when they're motivated by their own burning desires, not external pressures. As we weave through these foundational ideas, you might wonder, how does this play out in the everyday dance of forming and nurturing friendships? Well, let's explore what truly makes people gravitate toward you like iron to a magnet. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room, the most charismatic showman, or the one with the flashiest stories. It's about cultivating a genuine, heartfelt interest in others. Become truly fascinated by the people around you, and watch as doors swing wide open, opportunities unfold, and relationships deepen in ways you never imagined. Dale Carnegie shared a personal revelation. He once made more friends in just 2 months by focusing intently on others and their worlds than he had in 2 full years of trying desperately to get them interested in him and his accomplishments. Picture a lively dinner party where, instead of dominating the conversation with your own tales of travel, work triumphs, or hobbies, you lean in with curiosity and ask, "What's the most exciting thing that's happened to you lately? Tell me all about it." Their eyes sparkle with enthusiasm as they share their passions, their challenges, their little victories, and suddenly, you're not just another guest at the table. You're the one they remember fondly, the one they trust instinctively, the one they seek out for future conversations because you made them feel heard and valued. And don't underestimate the sheer power of a simple, authentic smile. It's like a universal key that unlocks warmth and positivity in even the coldest, most guarded hearts. Imagine walking into a bustling store on a hectic day with a furrowed brow and a frown etched on your face. The clerk mirrors your mood almost subconsciously. Curt responses, minimal effort, unhelpful attitude. Now, rewind and flash a genuine, warm smile instead. One that reaches your eyes and conveys real friendliness. Watch as their demeanor shifts dramatically. They become friendlier, more eager to assist, perhaps even going the extra mile with recommendations or discounts. It's contagious, like a ripple in a pond, signaling approachability, positivity, and a shared human connection. But pair that radiant smile with the magic of remembering someone's name, and you've got a combination that's pure alchemy. A person's name is the sweetest, most melodious sound in any language. It's deeply personal, tied to their identity, their sense of self. Forget it carelessly, and you signal indifference or forgetfulness. Remember it accurately, use it naturally, and you make them feel seen, important, and respected. Think of how Theodore Roosevelt, the dynamic U.S. president, greeted every White House staff member by name, from the gardeners to the cooks, turning ordinary servants into loyal allies who would do anything for him. It's a small, effortless act with massive, far-reaching ripple effects that can turn strangers into supporters and acquaintances into lifelong friends. But listening, that's where the real connection deepens and takes root, transforming superficial chats into meaningful bonds. Be a good listener, actively encourage others to talk about themselves, their experiences, their dreams, and you'll uncover hidden treasures of insight and rapport. People absolutely love to share their passions, their triumphs, their struggles. It's human nature to want to be understood. At a networking event filled with ambitious professionals, instead of pitching your business relentlessly or handing out cards like confetti, ask about theirs with sincere curiosity. What inspired you to start this venture? What challenges have you overcome along the way? Let them unfold their story at their own pace, nodding empathetically, probing gently with follow-up questions that show you're truly engaged. As the wise Benjamin Disraeli once put it, if you talk to people about themselves, they'll listen to you for hours on end, hanging on your every word because you've made them the star. You're not just hearing their words passively. You're building a sturdy bond, demonstrating that their world, their perspective matters deeply to you. Taking it a step further, always speak in terms of their interests, not just your own. If you're chatting with a fervent car enthusiast, dive into discussions about engines, models, and racing history, even if it's not your primary passion. Research a bit beforehand if needed. It shows respect, bridges gaps in backgrounds, and creates common ground where none existed before. And above all, make them feel genuinely important, sincerely, without any hidden agenda. Everyone carries a unique spark, a special talent or quality. Recognize it openly, celebrate it, and you win their heart irrevocably. Compliment their expertise in a niche area, acknowledge their tireless efforts on a project, and do it with authenticity that shines through. It's like shining a bright spotlight on their best self, making them glow from within with confidence and gratitude. You might be thinking right now, this all sounds fantastic for making friends and building rapport, but what about when opinions clash head-on? How do I win someone over to my side without sparking a full-blown fight that leaves scars? That's where the subtle art of persuasion comes into play, and it starts with dodging arguments altogether whenever possible. Arguments are like sinking into quicksand. The more you struggle and push, the deeper you both sink into hostility. You might win on technical points or logic, but you lose the relationship, the trust, and any chance of future influence. Instead, welcome disagreements as golden opportunities for growth and understanding. Distrust your first impulsive reaction to defend yourself aggressively. Control your temper with deep breaths. Listen first without interrupting. Look diligently for areas of agreement, no matter how small. Be brutally honest about your own mistakes, and even thank them for sharing their perspective. It shows maturity and openness. Use disarming phrases like, "I may be wrong about this. Let's check the facts together and see." It's incredibly disarming, turning potential explosive battles into calm, productive discussions where both sides feel respected. Respect their opinions fiercely and without judgment. Never utter those fatal words, "You're wrong," which act like a red flag waving in front of a bull, provoking immediate defensiveness. Diplomacy has won more wars and resolved more conflicts than blunt force ever could. Harshness only starts new ones. And if you discover that you are indeed mistaken, admit it quickly, emphatically, and publicly if needed. Beat them to the punch of criticism. Imagine a boss who owns up to a major blunder in a team meeting before anyone else points it out. It humanizes him, earns instant respect, and opens the floodgates for positive change without resentment. Always begin any interaction on a friendly note, seeking that positive yes momentum from the start. Start with common ground, pose questions that naturally elicit agreement, building a wave of positivity toward your main point. Let them do most of the talking. People often convince themselves of an idea when they voice it out loud in their own words. And here's a timeless gem. Plant the seed of an idea so subtly that they think it's entirely theirs. Guide the conversation with gentle suggestions. Ask leading questions that point the way, and watch as they embrace it with pride and ownership, as if it sprang from their own brilliant mind. But empathy remains the beating heart of it all. Strive to see things from their viewpoint, truly and deeply. Step into their shoes, feel their frustrations, their joys, their fears as if they were your own. Be sympathetic with phrases like, "I'd feel exactly the same way if I were in your position." It melts away resistance like ice under the sun. Appeal to their nobler motives. Assume the best in them, that they want to be fair, generous, and honorable. Dramatize your ideas with compelling stories, vivid pictures, and real-life examples that captivate the imagination and make abstract concepts tangible. Be specific in your praise to make it ring true and memorable. Your analysis on that report was spot on and saved us hours of work. And sometimes, throw down a friendly challenge. Tap into their competitive spirit to spur action and excellence, like saying, "I know you can beat your personal best on this." Now, envision yourself stepping into a leadership role, whether at work, in a community group, or even within your family, where you need to change behaviors or correct course without sparking resentment or rebellion. It begins with generous praise, sandwiching any constructive feedback between layers of positives to cushion the impact. Point out mistakes indirectly, with tact. This is great overall, but have you considered this alternative angle that might enhance it even more? It softens the blow, invites collaboration rather than defensiveness. Share your own flaws and past errors first to create relatability. I used to make the exact same mistake until I learned this trick. Want to hear about it? It levels the playing field, making you approachable rather than superior. Ask questions instead of issuing orders. What do you think about trying this approach? How would you tweak it? They feel involved, empowered, and invested in the outcome. Let them save face at all costs. Protect their dignity as if it were your own, because humiliation breeds lasting grudges. Praise every tiny improvement lavishly, no matter how incremental. It encourages more progress, like positive reinforcement training a puppy to new tricks. Give them a fine reputation to live up to. You're so reliable and innovative. I know you'll nail this challenge. Use encouragement freely. Make faults seem easily correctable. It's just a small tweak away from perfection, and always make them happy about doing what you suggest by highlighting the personal benefits, matching your request perfectly to their wants and needs. As we journey through these interconnected insights, let's pause for a moment and reflect. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to effortlessly lead teams, inspire unwavering loyalty, and turn even the most skeptical critics into enthusiastic supporters? It's not random luck or innate talent. It's these principles in constant motion, applied consistently in big and small ways. But to truly grasp their power and make them your own, let's bring them to life with even more stories, more layered examples, and deeper analyses, because understanding the theory is one thing. Seeing it applied in real scenarios is where the true transformation begins and sticks. Recall the poignant tale of Abraham Lincoln, one of history's greatest influencers, who once penned a scathing letter criticizing a general's battlefield decisions during the Civil War. But wisely, he never sent it, realizing that sharp, cutting words breed enemies, not allies, and solve nothing in the long run. In your own life, think of that angry email you drafted in the heat of the moment to a coworker or family member. Hitting delete instead might have preserved a valuable friendship or partnership. Criticism, as studies in psychology confirm, puts people on the defensive. They rationalize their actions, justify their choices, doing anything to protect their fragile ego from shattering. Instead, channel that critical energy into sincere appreciation. John Wanamaker, the pioneering retail giant who built an empire of department stores, made it a daily ritual to find something specific to praise in his employees, no matter their role. One day, he noticed a young clerk's exceptionally neat handwriting on inventory logs and complimented it sincerely, explaining how it made audits smoother for everyone. The clerk beamed with pride. His motivation soared to new levels, and he went on to excel in his career. What if you adopted the same habit? Spot the good in your child's messy but creative homework, your partner's imperfect but heartfelt cooking, your friend's well-intentioned but flawed advice. It's not about ignoring real issues that need addressing. It's about building a solid foundation of positivity strong enough to support honest conversations and drive meaningful change without backlash. And when it comes to arousing that eager want in others, it's the invisible spark that turns a reluctant no into an enthusiastic yes, time and again. A struggling salesman once faced a tough, uninterested customer who kept rejecting his pitches. Instead of pushing product features aggressively, he shifted gears and asked probing questions about the customer's business needs, their long-term dreams, and the pain points holding them back. By aligning the product seamlessly with those personal wants, efficiency, growth, peace of mind, the sale closed itself naturally, with the customer feeling like they discovered the solution. Imagine applying this principle to parenting a stubborn child. Instead of barking, "Clean your room because I said so and it's your chore," try painting an appealing picture. How cool would it be to have a tidy space where you can invite your friends over for games without tripping over toys? It'd make playtime even more fun. It shifts the paradigm from authoritarian command to mutual collaboration, from stubborn resistance to genuine eagerness, fostering independence along the way. moving seamlessly into the realm of building instant likability. Genuine interest in others emerges as your ultimate superpower, one that requires no special skills beyond curiosity and attentiveness. Carnegie recounts the story of a man at a high society party who spent the entire evening listening raptly to a botanist drone on about exotic plants and rare species. The botanist later raved to the host about this man being the most interesting conversationalist he'd ever met. Yet the man had barely uttered a word beyond encouraging questions. He just listened with authentic fascination, making the speaker feel like the center of the universe. Try this approach next time you're on a first date, in a crucial business meeting, or at a family gathering. Ask open-ended questions that invite storytelling, really care about the answers, and watch barriers dissolve. You'll be surprised how people open up like flowers in the sun, sharing vulnerabilities and insights that deepen connections exponentially. Smiles, though simple and free, are priceless tools in your arsenal. A New York stockbroker in the Great Depression era made a habit of forcing a smile on his daily commute, even when times were tough. It transformed his interactions, from grumpy cab drivers barking orders to cheerful chats that brightened everyone's day. It's backed by biology. Smiles release endorphins, creating a positive feedback loop that makes both parties happier and more open. Pair it with the art of remembering names, and you've amplified its effect tenfold. Jim Farley, who rose from humble beginnings to become U.S. Postmaster General, had an uncanny ability to remember over 50,000 names. He made it a point to use them in conversations, making each person feel uniquely valued and remembered. Forget a name carelessly, and it's like overlooking their birthday. It stings with indifference. But remember it, weave it naturally into dialogue, and you're forging golden bonds. Listening ties everything together like glue, solidifying relationships. Encourage others to talk about themselves with prompts like, "Tell me more about that incredible trip you took. What was the highlight?" People adore having an attentive audience for their life stories. It validates their experiences. In sales, top performers listen actively 70% of the time or more, building unbreakable trust and uncovering hidden needs that lead to perfect solutions. Talk in terms of their interests. If a colleague is passionate about golf, learn a few terms or ask about their favorite courses. It shows thoughtful effort and creates instant rapport. And making them feel important, deliver sincere compliments like, "Your insight on that strategy was spot on and shifted my whole perspective." It can turn casual acquaintances into staunch advocates who champion you in return. When persuasion is needed amid clashing views, avoiding arguments becomes paramount. Studies show that 90% of arguments end without changing anyone's mind. They only entrench positions further. Ben Franklin, the founding father and diplomat, learned to phrase his opinions humbly with "I conceive" or "it appears to me," turning potential foes into lifelong friends through respect. In heated debates, listen intently, find even the smallest common ground to build upon. Respect differing opinions unconditionally. Starting with, "That's an interesting view. Help me understand your reasoning," diffuses tension like magic, opening doors to dialogue. Admit your wrongs emphatically and without delay. A prominent businessman once apologized profusely for a shipping delay before the client could complain, turning a potential loss into his biggest repeat customer through demonstrated accountability. Begin every interaction friendly. Like Aesop's fable of the sun versus the wind, gentle warmth persuades where forceful gusts fail. Build yes responses with Socratic questions that lead to agreement. You want the best outcome for the team, right? Yes. So let's explore how this idea aligns. Let them do the bulk of the talking. In negotiations, strategic silence is golden. They'll often reveal their true positions or even convince themselves of your point. Make the idea feel like theirs through subtle guidance. Managers who suggest, rather than dictate, see surges in innovation and ownership from their teams. Shift viewpoints by imagining their daily pressures and constraints fully. Offer sympathy generously. "I completely get why you're upset. Anyone would be in that situation." Appeal to nobler motives by assuming their inherent goodness and desire for fairness. Dramatize ideas with engaging stories or visual demonstrations that bring concepts to life vividly. Give specific, targeted praise. That detail you added to the presentation was genius and made it unforgettable. Issue challenges to ignite competition. I bet you can surpass last month's sales numbers. What do you think? Leadership, at its core, flows naturally from these principles when applied with intention. Start corrections with praise. Like a skilled hairdresser complimenting your features before suggesting a cut, it sets a positive tone. Deliver feedback indirectly. Most experts spell it this way. Does that make sense here? Own your errors first. President Coolidge did this routinely, winning fierce loyalty from his staff. Pose questions over commands. Would you mind handling this part? Your expertise is perfect for it. Preserve face meticulously. Praise achievements publicly. Correct missteps privately to avoid embarrassment. Lavish praise on every improvement, drawing from behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner's positive reinforcement techniques that shape habits effectively. Assign reputations that inspire. As our top innovator, I know you'll crush this. Make faults appear trivial and fixable. It's a minor adjustment that will take it from good to great. Ensure they're happy to comply by framing requests around their desires. This change will free up your time for the creative work you love most. These threads weave together into a rich tapestry of influence, empathy, and human understanding. But let's dive even deeper with more real-world applications and extended anecdotes. Because the more we explore, the more these ideas come alive and become second nature. Have you ever wondered why some leaders inspire devotion that borders on fanaticism while others breed quiet rebellion and high turnover? It's all in how they handle the delicate art of change, how they navigate the intricate labyrinth of the human heart with grace and wisdom. Take the futility of criticism one step further. Modern psychologists like those studying cognitive dissonance confirm that negative feedback often backfires spectacularly, entrenching bad behaviors as people double down to protect their self-image. Al Capone's delusional self-view as a community hero illustrates how we all construct narratives to justify our actions, no matter how flawed. So, in family disputes over chores or finances, skip the blame game entirely, it only escalates. Redirect to appreciation. Philosopher John Dewey pinpointed our desire to be important as the deepest human urge. Schwab's $1 million salary for people's skills over technical prowess underscores this. He motivated factories full of workers by highlighting their contributions vividly. Try specific praise on a subordinate. Your quick thinking in that client call saved the deadline and impressed everyone. Bravo. Arousing desire taps into this urge masterfully. Fishermen succeed by using bait the fish craves, not what they fancy. A frustrated mother wanted her son to practice piano daily. Instead of nagging, she connected it to his dream of performing on stage in front of cheering crowds. Suddenly, practice became his eager pursuit, not a dreaded task. In business, a CEO convinced a reluctant board to invest in innovation by framing it as their legacy-building opportunity, arousing visions of industry leadership. Genuine interest in others mirrors why dogs are universally loved. They offer unconditional attention without judgment. Apply it at work, learn about a colleague's weekend hiking hobby, and ask follow-ups. It fosters alliances. Smiles boost sales for insurance agents by creating instant warmth. Try smiling through a tough phone call and note the shift. Names hold power. Napoleon's niece taught him to memorize aides' names. It charmed entire armies into loyalty. A hypochondriac patient was cured by a doctor who simply listened empathetically for hours, validating his concerns without prescribing a thing. Encourage self-talk. Tell me more about your passion project. What excites you most? In media, filter news. Engagement metrics show listeners retain more when feeling heard. Taylor talks to interests. Roosevelt spent nights researching dinner guests' obscure passions, from African wildlife to ancient history, turning state dinners into bonding sessions. Make importance sincere. Lincoln wrote a compassionate letter to a grieving mother who'd lost 5 sons in the Civil War, acknowledging her sacrifice profoundly. It cemented his legacy as empathetic leader. Argument avoidance is crucial. Data shows debates rarely sway opinions but heighten divisions. Emulate Franklin's humble phrasing to build bridges. Respect views. Dismissing with "you're wrong" kills trust instantly. Admissions win hearts. Harvey Firestone admitted company faults publicly, forging unbreakable business empires. Friendly openings echo fables where kindness prevails. Socratic yes builds consensus gently. Let venting occur. It often leads to self-resolution. Seed ideas subtly for ownership pride. Viewpoints require immersion. If I were facing your deadlines, sympathy disarms. That's understandably frustrating. Nobler appeals presume honor. I know you'll do the right thing. Dramatize with demos. Sales skyrocket with hands-on trials. Specific praise resonates. Your graph illustrated the data brilliantly. Challenges motivate. Can you top your record? Leadership praise primes positivity. Compliment before critiquing, like artists praising a canvas before suggesting strokes. Indirect hints. Have you seen how this enhances flow? Own blunders. Leaders like Jack Welch shared failures to humanize themselves. Questions empower. How shall we tackle this? Face saving is key. Public praise. Private counsel prevents grudges. Celebrate micro wins. It compounds progress exponentially. Reputations inspire. Your punctuality sets the standard. Ease faults. Quick fix ahead. Happiness in tasks. Align with personal gains. Expanding with vivid anecdotes. Carnegie trained thousands. One student clinched a massive contract by listening to a client's golf stories for hours, building rapport that sealed the deal. Another averted divorce by shifting from criticism to daily appreciation of his wife's efforts. Rekindling love. A factory strike was defused when the owner empathized with workers' grievances, seeing their viewpoint and appealing to shared goals for prosperity. A Boy Scouts leader built confidence in shy kids by praising their smallest efforts in tying knots or pitching tents, turning them into enthusiastic participants. In education, a teacher challenged an underperforming student by saying, I see potential in you that could make you the class star. What if we aimed for that? It sparked excellence and a turnaround. In marriage, admitting wrongs swiftly, like, I was out of line earlier. You were right. Diffuses arguments before they escalate, preserving harmony. Analyze why these work. They leverage core psychology principles like reciprocity, praise begets goodwill, ego protection, avoid criticism to prevent defensiveness, and self-determination theory, arousing wants fulfills autonomy. They're timeless because human nature evolves slowly. What worked in 1936 still transforms lives today. Ponder this as we build. How might one small shift, like smiling more, ripple through your week? Imagine the conversations it sparks, the doors it opens. Let's keep the momentum rolling by imagining these principles in high-stakes crises. A company on the brink of collapse turned around when the CEO admitted past strategic errors openly, then praised the team's resilience and challenged them to innovate together. It aroused collective desire for success, avoiding blame and fostering unity. Or consider a salesman closing record deals not with pressure, but smiles, remembered names, and deep listening to client dreams, making each feel important and understood. More stories unfold. A community organizer won over skeptical neighbors to a park cleanup by dramatizing the vision of a beautiful space for their kids, appealing to nobler family motives. In parenting, indirect feedback like, have you thought about organizing toys this way for easier play? Saves face and encourages without commanding. A mentor built a protégé's reputation by publicly calling them our rising star, motivating them to live up to it through encouragement. Extend the reflection. What if every interaction became an opportunity to uplift rather than undermine? Envision your relationships transformed. Deeper friendships, smoother collaborations, inspired leadership. In conclusion, the essence boils down to this profound simplicity. Treat others not just as you wish to be treated, but better, with unbounded empathy, generous appreciation, and strategic wisdom that honors their humanity. This isn't merely a book summary. It's a comprehensive life manual for navigating the complex web of human connections. So, go forth boldly, experiment with these ideas in your daily encounters, and watch as your world transforms into one filled with stronger bonds, greater influence, and genuine fulfillment. What principle resonates most with you right now? Which one will you try first in your next conversation? The journey of mastery starts with that single step. Take it today, and let the magic unfold.